Hey, this is Pranay Sai, and our topic for now is data sufficiency. You'll be given a set of information where you have to find out whether this information is sufficient to answer the question or not. Here we go. Data sufficiency. Let's solve a few questions in this topic. How is J related to K? Here are the two statements given. Based on the given information, we need to find out whether these statements are sufficient to answer the question or not. If sufficient, which of the two will give us the answer? Either one or two or both the statements. Let's find out. The first statement states that J's father P is brother of N. N is K's wife. Let's diagrammatically represent this. According to statement 1, J's father is P, isn't it? And P is brother of N. Yes or no? Now in the question it is given that how is J related to K? We have to find out the relationship between J and K. But by using statement 1, the last statement is given as N is K's wife. So wife of P's brother N is K. Now we have represented the statement 1 in a diagram. Now let's find out whether this information is sufficient to answer the question or not. J's father is P, P's brother is N, and N's wife is K. According to this diagram, it is important that you know the family relations. Go through the blood relations chapter which I have explained earlier. Because all the data sufficiency questions will be asked from different concepts like coding, decoding, blood relations, direction sense test, ranking, time sequence test, sitting arrangement and puzzles, arithmetical reasoning, and mathematical operations. All these together, they'll be asked in the data sufficiency questions. So make sure you're perfect in all other topics. Okay then, according to this information, J can be either niece or nephew of K. But we want the exact relation between J and K. So statement 1 alone is not sufficient to answer the question. Now let's find out for statement 2. In statement 2, it is given that J is son of P, P is brother of N, N is K's wife. Though the information given in statement 1 and 2 is almost the same. The only difference is J is son of P. It is clearly mentioned that J is son of P, but in the first statement, this is not given. That is the only difference between statement 1 and 2. So if J is son of P, as P is his father and J is the son, here we don't know whether J is son or daughter. And P is brother of N and K is wife of N. Now we can say that J is nephew of K. Therefore, among 1 and 2 statements, only statement 2 is sufficient to answer the question. Therefore, the answer is second statement. This is how you solve the data sufficiency questions. Let's solve a couple more questions. P, Q, R, S and T are seated around a circular table facing the center, such that there is equal space between each of the adjacent members. Who sits to the immediate right of T? This is the question. We need to find out who sits to the immediate right of T. And these are the two statements. Based on this information, we'll find out the answer. According to the first statement, Q sits second to the right of T and S sits second to the left of T. P, Q, R, S and T. There are totally 5 members. And here is the circular table. Let's assume there are 5 members sitting around the circular table. According to statement 1, Q sits second to the right of T. Let's assume T sits here, Q is sitting second to the right of T. So leaving one place, Q might be sitting here. And S sits second to the left of T. So second to the left of T is, if you leave this place, S will be sitting here. So this is the information given in statement 1. But in the question, who sits to the immediate right of T? He's asking who is sitting in this place. But according to statement 1, we cannot figure out who is sitting to the immediate right of T. Now then, let's find out information in statement 2. R is not an immediate neighbor of either P and Q. Let's assume T is sitting here. We don't know who is sitting immediate right to T. Q is here. S is here. And there's another place left over here. According to statement 2, R is not an immediate neighbor of either P and Q. If R is not an immediate neighbor of Q, it should not be either here or here. So definitely his position will be here. Then what is the other position left? It's obviously this one. Therefore, P is here. Now then, let's look into the question. Who sits to the immediate right of T? The person sitting to the immediate right of T is P. So in this question, statement 1 and 2 are required to get the solution. Here is another one. How will watch be coded in the code language? Here are the two statements given. According to statement 1, in that code language, peril is coded as QFQJM. This data sufficiency question is a problem from coding-decoding. To understand this, you need to understand the coding-decoding concept. Clear? Now let's solve this. Peril is coded as QFQJM. There is no certain logic to these questions. It is important that you be familiar with the positions of alphabets, the increment and decrement of alphabets. Clear? As peril is coded as QFQJM. If you observe clearly, the next letter of P is Q, so +1. The next letter of E is F, +1. The before letter of R is Q, so -1. The next letter of I is J, +1. And the next letter of L is M, +1. This is the reason why I said you need to be familiar with different positions of alphabets to solve the question quickly. It might be either increment or decrement. Now we have successfully decoded this particular equation. Now, according to statement 2, Foster's is coded as GPTSFST. If you can observe, the next letter of F is G, the next letter of O is P, the next letter of S is T, and the before letter of T is S. So +1 here, +1 here, +1 here, and -1 in place of T. And for all other alphabets, it continues in the same way. +1, that F comes after E, and S comes after R, +1, and T comes after S, +1. Now what is the common thing in statement 1 and statement 2? The middle letter in the word Foster's, that is T, and the middle letter in the word peril, that is R, is decremented by one letter, and the remaining letters are incremented by 1. So in the letter watch as well, the middle letter should be decremented by 1, and all the remaining letters should be incremented by 1. If W is incremented by 1, it is X, A is B. As T should be decremented by 1, it would be S, and C should be incremented by 1, so D here. and H should be incremented by 1. So I here. So the code for watch will be XBSDI. So in this question, either statement 1 alone or statement 2 alone is sufficient to answer the question, because both the statements follow the same pattern. And here is the final example. Which village is to the northeast of village A? Here are the two statements given. Village B is to the north of village A. Villages C and D are to the east and west of village B respectively. According to statement 1, he is saying that village B is to the north of village A. We all might be aware of the directions. This is north, this is south, this is east, this is west, this will be northwest, and this will be northeast, this will be southwest, and this is southeast. Like what I said earlier, these are concepts from other topics in mental ability. It is important that you gain knowledge in all the topics of mental ability before you solve the data sufficiency questions. So village B is to the north of village A in the north direction, and villages C and D are to the east and west of village B. So towards the east it is village C, and towards the west it is village D. Now according to the question, which village is to the northeast of village A? So northeast in this direction, and the village which lies to the northeast of village A is none other than C. Therefore, statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer the given question. This is how you solve the data sufficiency questions. Hope you had understood this.